This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Reading by Dan Graves. The Bottle Imp by Robert Louis Stevenson. There was a man of the island of Hawaii whom I shall call Keawe, for the truth is he still lives, and his name must be kept secret. But the place of his birth was not far from Hanaunau, where the bones of Keawe the Great lie hidden in a cave. This man was poor, brave, and active. He could read and write like a schoolmaster. He was a first-rate mariner besides, sailed for some time in the island steamers, and steered a whaleboat on the Hamakua coast. At length it came in Keawe's mind to have a sight of the great world and foreign cities, and he shipped on a vessel bound to San Francisco. This is a fine town with a fine harbor, and rich people uncountable, and in particular there is one hill which is covered with palaces. Upon this hill Keawe was one day taking a walk with his pocket full of money, viewing the great houses upon either hand with pleasure. What fine houses these are, he was thinking, and how happy must those people be who dwell in them and take no care for the morrow. The thought was in his mind when he came abreast of a house that was smaller than some others, but all finished and beautified like a toy. The steps of that house shone like silver, and the borders of the garden bloomed like garlands, and the windows were bright like diamond. And Keawe stopped and wondered at the excellence of all he saw. So stopping, he was aware of a man that looked forth upon him through a window so clear that Keawe could see him as you see a fish in a pool upon the reef. The man was elderly, with a bald head and a black beard, and his face was heavy with sorrow, and he sighed bitterly. And the truth of it is that as Keawe looked in upon the man, and the man looked out upon Keawe, each envied the other. All of a sudden the man smiled and nodded, and beckoned Keawe to enter, and met him at the door of the house. "This is a fine house of mine," said the man, and bitterly sighed. "Would you not care to view the chambers?" So he led Keawe all over it, from the cellar to the roof, and there was nothing there that was not perfect of its kind, and Keawe was astonished. "Truly," said Keawe, "this is a beautiful house. If I lived in the like of it, I should be laughing all day long. How comes it then that you should be sighing?" "There is no reason," said the man, "why you should not have a house in all points similar to this, and finer if you wish. You have some money, I suppose." "I have $50, said Keawe, "but a house like this will cost more than $50. The man made a computation. "I am sorry you have no more," said he, "for it may raise you trouble in the future, but it shall be yours at $50. "The house?" asked Keawe. "No, not the house," replied the man, "but the bottle. For I must tell you, although I appear to you so rich and fortunate, all my fortune in this house itself and its garden came out of a bottle not much bigger than a pint. This is it." And he opened a lock-fast place and took out a round-bellied bottle with a long neck. The glass of it was white like milk, with changing rainbow colors in the grain. With inside something obscurely moved, like a shadow in the fire. "This is the bottle," said the man, and when Keawe laughed, "You do not believe me?" he added. "Try then for yourself, see if you can break it." So Keawe took the bottle up and dashed it on the floor till he was weary, but it jumped on the floor like a child's ball, and was not injured. "This is a strange thing," said Keawe, "for by the touch of it, as well as by the look, the bottle should be of glass." "Of glass it is," replied the man, sighing more heavily than ever, "but the glass of it was tempered in the flames of hell. An imp lives in it, and that is the shadow we behold moving there, or so I should suppose. If any man buy this bottle, the imp is at his command. All that he desires, love, fame, money, houses like this house, or a city like this city, all are his at the word uttered. Napoleon had this bottle, and by it he grew to be the king of the world, but he sold it at the last and fell. Captain Cook had this bottle, and by it he found his way to so many islands, but he too sold it and was slain upon Hawaii. For once it is sold, the power goes and the protection, and unless a man remain content with what he has, ill will befall him." "And yet you talk of selling it yourself?" Keawe said. "I have all I wish, and I am growing elderly," replied the man. "There's one thing the imp cannot do. He cannot prolong life. And it would not be fair to conceal from you, there is a drawback to the bottle, for if a man die before he sells it, he must burn in hell forever." "To be sure, that is a drawback and no mistake," cried Kaawa. "I would not meddle with the thing. I can do without a house, thank God, but there's one thing I could not be doing with one particle, and that is to be damned." "Dear me, you must not run away with things," returned the man. "All you have to do is use the power of the imp in moderation, and then sell it to someone else as I do to you, and finish your life in comfort." "Well, I observe two things," said Kaawa. "All the time you keep sighing like a maid in love, that is one, and for the other you sell this bottle very cheap." "I've already told you why I sigh," said the man. "It is because I fear my health is breaking up, and as you said yourself, to die and go to the devil is a pity for anyone. As for why I sell so cheap, I must explain to you there is a peculiarity about the bottle. Long ago, when the devil brought it first upon earth, it was extremely expensive and was sold first of all to Prester John for many millions of dollars, but it cannot be sold at all unless sold at a loss. If you sell it for as much as you paid for it, back it comes to you again like a homing pigeon. It follows that the price has kept falling in all these centuries, and the bottle is now remarkably cheap. I bought it myself from one of my great neighbors on this hill, and the price I paid was only $90. I could sell it for as high as $89.99, but not a penny dearer, or back the thing must come to me. Now about this, there are two bothers. First, when you offer a bottle so singular for $80, people suppose you to be jesting. And second, but there's no hurry about that, and I need not go into it. Only remember, it must be coined money that you sell it for." "How am I to know that this is all true?" asked Kaawa. "Some of it you can try at once," replied the man. "Give me your $50, take the bottle, and wish your $50 back into your pocket. If that does not happen, I pledge you my honor I will cry off the bargain and restore your money." "You're not deceiving me?" said Kaawa. The man bound himself with a great oath. "Well, I will risk that much," said Kaawa, "for that can do no harm." And he paid over his money to the man, and the man handed him the bottle. "Imp of the bottle," said Kaawa, "I want my $50 back." And sure enough, he had scarce said the word before his pocket was as heavy as ever. "To be sure, this is a wonderful bottle," said Kaawa. "And now good morning to you, my fine fellow, and the devil go with you for me," said the man. "Hold on," said Kaawa. "I don't want any more of this fun. Here, take your bottle back." "You have bought it for less than I paid for it," replied the man, rubbing his hands. "It is yours now, and for my part I am only concerned to see the back of you." And with that he rang for his Chinese servant and had Kaawa shown out of the house. Now, when Kaawa was in the street and the bottle under his arm, he began to think. "If all is true about this bottle, I may have made a losing bargain," thinks he. But perhaps the man was only fooling me. The first thing he did was to count his money. The sum was exact, $49 American money and 1 Chili piece. "That looks like the truth," said Kaawa. "Now I will try another part." The streets in that part of the city were as clean as a ship's decks, and though it was noon, there were no passengers. Kaawa set the bottle in the gutter and walked away. Twice he looked back, and there was the milky, round-bellied bottle where he left it. A third time he looked back and turned a corner, but he had scarce done so when something knocked upon his elbow, and behold, it was the long neck sticking up, and as for the round belly, it was jammed into the pocket of his pilot coat. "And that looks like the truth," said Kaawa. The next thing he did was buy a corkscrew in a shop and go apart into a secret place in the fields, and there he tried to draw the cork, but as often as he put the screw in, out it came again, and the cork as whole as ever. "This is some new sort of cork," said Kaawa, and all at once he began to shake and sweat, for he was afraid of that bottle. On his way back to the port side, he saw a shop where a man sold shells and clubs from the wild islands, old heathen deities, old coined money, pictures from China and Japan, and all manner of things that sailors bring in their sea chests. And here he had an idea. So he went in and offered the bottle for $100. The man of the shop laughed at him at first and offered him $5, but indeed it was a curious bottle. Such glass was never blown in any human glass works. So prettily the colors shone under the milky white, and so strangely the shadow hovered in the midst. So after he had disputed a while after the manner of his kind, the shopman gave Kaawa $60 silver for the thing and set it on a shelf in the midst of his window. "Now," said Kaawa, "I have sold that for $60, which I bought for $50, or to say truth, a little less, because one of my dollars was from Chile. Now I shall know the truth upon another point." So he went back on board his ship, and when he opened his chest, there was the bottle, and had come more quickly than himself.